Hello and welcome, everyone. This is Sergio Moreau with another episode of RBL1 Live. We have our another distinguished guest and a great friend. It's been a long time, Andrew Olaleye, who is the co-founder of Chatdesk. Thanks for joining us today, Andrew.
Sergio, so great to catch up, man. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, he was able to carve out some time based in London. We first met as a part of the MLT Management Leadership for Tomorrow program years ago, before our MBA. But enough about us. So let's talk about Andrew. For those that don't know a little bit about his background, graduated from University of Georgia, also got his MBA from Tuck, and has worked at Vanguard, McKinsey, before now founding Chatdesk as a co-founder. So if you can share a little bit with the audience, what is Chatdesk?
Yeah, thanks, Serge. Chatdesk is a software and machine learning company in the customer experience space. The easiest way to explain to people is we help e-commerce and retail brands scale their support and drive sales. So if you're that beauty company out of New York and you're growing fast, we help find super fans of your brand, other makeup artists and beauticians across the US that can actually help respond to that Facebook comment that came in at 10 p.m. or that email that you haven't gotten back to that customer about. And it's really helping small businesses scale as efficient as possible, but also, creating jobs. And that's kind of our mission is we want to create hundreds of thousands to millions of jobs across the US and worldwide. And that's what we're working on.
That's great. And can you break down a little bit for those that may not be familiar, what like you mentioned that retail brand, how does it work as a brand, and like when they're engaging with you, if you can walk through some of the user experience.
So I would say it's very similar to kind of like a Uber for customer support, right? So we work with hundreds of brands, companies like Olaplex and BarkBox, FabFitFun, Andy Swim, all the way down to your 1 to 2 person, e-commerce or Shopify store. And the way it works is, if I'm, let's say, I run a beauty company and I'm growing pretty fast, but I'm juggling a lot of things as, a founder or, a senior person on the team, I'm going to need some help, right? It's very difficult for companies to manage emails coming in, YouTube reviews, TikTok comments, Instagram DMs. And what happens is that, the longer it takes for you to respond to messages, a lot of customers are not happy because they're not getting quick answers to their questions, but B, you're missing out on sales. I always laugh when I think of the thousands of dollars that companies spend on Facebook and Instagram advertising a month. But when it comes to responding to a DM or a comment that comes in asking about questions about the product, or do you deliver to this particular country, it takes them, 10 hours or even 24 hours to respond. And you're just missing out on sales. So what we do is we use machine learning to connect to the company's channels to analyze and understand what's their brand voice. For that one question that came in about, product fit or ingredients, well, we already know the 5-10 different types of responses you've used before, all the way down to the emojis you use. And that's important because we want to understand what your brand voice and personality is. The second step is building your team. So we have a team of a community of over 5,000 to 6,000. We call them Chatdesk experts, but they're super fans of your brand. If you're a pet company, we want to find pet owners and dog walkers. If you're, a fashion company, we want to find other stylists and people that love knowing more about your brand. Maybe they're a customer of your brand. And we basically onboard, train, and do performance management on your Chatdesk experts. They're fully dedicated to your brand. And the way it works is as questions come in, our system is basically providing a set of responses that now the freelancer can actually use to respond back to your customers. So you don't have to use one-pagers and macros and cheat sheets. It's dynamic. As your products change, as your policies change, the system is sharing these types of responses that are the right response to send to your customers. Super personalized, but it's using people that are US based and that really understand your brand. This is really important for social, right? Because, if you're a brand that's engaging a lot of people on social and you're using lots of slang and nuance, it's tough for someone in the Philippines or, in the Dominican Republic or India to really understand kind of how you speak to your customers, right? Because they may not be your target customer. Well, we want to find people that really understand your world in a way that kind of builds empathy, but also drives more loyalty and sales.
That's excellent. It sounds part human, but also part like Siri for your business.
Exactly.
In terms your so no, that's that's amazing, and especially with all the different channels, content management, channel management systems for small businesses. It's so tough to get up and running. How did I remember when I engaged with you, Andrew, and we were both career searching at the time, and can you share a little bit of your journey? How did you go from Vanguard to consulting to now founder? If you can share with us a little bit of that journey.
Yeah, I think a little bit about myself. I'm kind of first generation American. My mother's Colombian, my father's Nigerian. They met in Kentucky, out of all places. I grew up in Atlanta in the South. So, I've always had kind of this interest for kind of culture and also just very passionate about kind of helping others. It's just something that's innate within me based on just a lot of the experiences I saw through my family. I think like most immigrant families, they're very conservative, right? As you probably know, they want you to go down a very safe route and they want you to be a doctor or a lawyer or engineer. So I thought, well, I go into business or finance, it's a good career. It's something I was always interested in business. I think once I started thinking about going back to business school, I wanted to do something that was a bit more impact oriented. And it's so funny, I ended up at McKinsey doing this, but I covered pretty much Europe, Middle East, and Sub-Saharan Africa for McKinsey, working on like truly fascinating projects across power, banking, retail. And a big part of what we were doing was digital optimization. So, a lot of big businesses across these growing markets were still very manual and paper-based. And we were trying to drive a lot of automation and technology. A big part of that was customer service and contact centers, right? When people think about customer service is unfortunately, it's a very boring space. It's not sexy. It's seen as a cost center. But what I started to see, and I think what my partner, Aneto, who was tasked with building a contact center when he was at Google, he saw the same challenges as well, right? It's very manual. There's not a lot of training involved. And, it's still very archaic, the way that people scale and grow customer support teams. You're not really using technology to help with that. So, Aneto and I started having conversations about this. It was his kind of idea that he said, hey, like, I see that things are changing and it's moving away from your traditional phone and email support. And it's moving towards these other adjacent channels such as Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. I think that there's, really a vision of trying to help companies really solve bad customer service through easier ways and through technology. And that's how it started. Literally, I did a lot of this work at McKinsey, but, once I started having these conversations with who's now my other partner, I started getting really excited about it because I saw firsthand how good customer service can drive sales. It can drive healthy relationships with your customers, but it also makes your team happy as well, right? So we both left our jobs and, left cushy careers to do this. And, it's been a 5+ year labor of love, I should say, but it's been so worth it, man.
Yeah, that's amazing, especially with what is it? I'm sure investors love the McKinsey Google team, the power brands as well. So that's great, and congratulations. Also, I know you've raised just about $10 million and in to grow and move forward. Can you talk a little bit about that? About go embarking on that journey. Very few we talk about how at least in the venture capital space, supporting underrepresented founders of color. It's hard enough to raise, let alone
Yeah.
be one of those founders. Can you share a little bit on what did you do? How did you accomplish that?
Yeah. A lot of peanut butter jelly sandwiches and
Yeah, the
commiserating
grind,
with
the
like
grind.
other like friends and family. But honestly, I think the first 2 years were pretty tough. You're leaving a career where financially and personally it was very secure to somewhat of an unknown. But I think we were so just fascinated and passionate about what we were doing. It didn't really matter, to be very honest. Um, I think we were fortunate to have some good networks that we can lean on to just get advice on fundraising and to just get advice on how do you build a company from scratch. We made a lot of mistakes, right? I see why VCs like focusing on second or third time founders, right? Because you don't know what you don't know. And I think what we leaned on heavily was just our friends and other people that maybe were a year or two ahead of us in building their own companies. I think from a fundraising standpoint, there were a lot of things we needed to learn about, how do you set yourself up for productive conversations with investors, right? Because it's a slow dance. I think a lot of people see the stories of, you have a handful of meetings and you get money. It's very difficult to do that. And I think when you're in a space like we're in, finding people that have that conviction of the vision that we're trying to build, because we're really ambitious as far as what we want to do. But having the right investors that kind of understood that and they saw our backgrounds and said, hey, these are the people that I feel can actually make this happen. So I think what we try to focus on as far as investing was being super structured on not only what the vision is, but really anticipating like what are some of the worries and questions investors are going to have and being very honest and transparent. I think a lot of times founders may say like, I only have to put my best foot forward. I can't tell them about, potential issues and worries and competitive threats. We did the opposite. We were very honest and kind of putting it out there. These are some of the things that we're still thinking through, right? And I think a lot of our investors appreciated that because they saw that, we weren't taking this like fully half glass full approach. We knew that there are some things that we needed to figure out in order to be really competitive and make this thing a reality.
Excellent. You mentioned some challenges along the way. I always like to can you share with the aspiring founders on the line some of those challenges? And I myself, right, talk about like when I started and it's like very lean times and the on one side pitching on a stage and on the other side you're living what is it, you're couch hopping because you're you're keeping it lean and friends are friends keep you afloat in the journey. If you could share a little bit of your some of the challenges and how you made it through.
I think the first challenge was truly just closing deals. And it sounds very just straightforward.
And when you say closing deals, for the fact, like not, you mean for customers getting
for
paid.
Customers, sorry.
Yep.
Yes. So,
right.
So selling, basically you have a product, selling it to someone who actually finds value in that product, right? There are not too many, minority founders who are in the SaaS space, right? And you're selling to people that don't look like you. It's more of an old school environment. And, you want to make sure that A, people see value in the product, but B, you're not a pushover, because I think a lot of times, early founders, when you're starting out in your journey, you may just take any type of stipulation from a company because you want their business. And I think what we needed to do very quickly was to legitimize ourselves. So I think, we started Chatdesk 3 months in, we didn't have a single customer. And we were having hundreds of calls, right? And I think what we realized was, we needed to basically prove the concept before we started telling people, okay, this is what we're going to charge you. And I remember our first customer was BarkBox, funny enough. This was towards the end of 2016. And we pitched it as, hey, this is a pilot. These are some of the things that we think you can get out of it as far as return on investment. They didn't pay us a dime for months, but using them as kind of a reference really helped us show other companies how they can use our solution to get impact. And we use that approach to be really scrappy. What are ways where we kind of saw it as like short-term loss for long-term gain? Maybe we're not making money off, working with this company or being featured with this particular industry organization that is seen as kind of like the leading voice of customer service. All of this we were doing for free because we just wanted to put ourselves out there. And I didn't want to go to companies and say, oh, my name is Andrew, you should believe me because I worked at some like fancy consulting firm. No, like I want you to believe me because there are other companies that you see as a model for great customer experience that's using this, and it's going to provide value for you. So I think kind of taking a step back and thinking about like, what are those short-term losses or those investments? I don't even call them short-term losses, but these initial investments you can make in your own company that won't pay initial dividends, but will get you kind of the visibility and the legitimacy that your company needs to continue to grow. So I think that was one. I think the second one was, really hiring, right? And I think a lot of times, you may have managed people, but hiring people is a different ballgame. You want to hire and anticipate when you need additional people. That was the one thing that I think was a mistake and was a challenge for us. We said, okay, we know when we need this person. We need them, let's say by June when we hit X amount of revenue. Well, we probably should have started interviewing that person, a month or two in advance. And I didn't realize how difficult it is to find good talent. Not in the sense that talent's not out there, but it's very competitive. There are a lot of companies that are putting very compelling compensation packages, and they have a compelling offer as a business. We needed to really hustle to find people that, maybe they weren't in the role now, but they had that potential to really shine in that role with coaching and with exposure. And I think after one or two types of go rounds of interviewing, we found some amazing people that really set a strong foundation for the team. So, I think number one is kind of identifying those investments to make in your business to grow. But then the second is, how do you kind of figure out your hiring plan to really not focus on someone who on paper checks all the boxes, but they also have the potential to grow into a role and really shine.
Also, yeah, finding talent is I guess the first talent on your team is you and your co-founder. Can you share more on? I know you said you met Aneto and then started talking about the concept of what. Can you share the insight that led you to say, okay, I'm willing to trust this person, and the other, it's I would say even more serious than hiring. You're sort of getting what is it, the founder dating, right? You're getting hitched and making a business together. So can you share more of why why did that? How did you know that? Or I would say it's like, what made you say I'm gonna take this bet? I'm gonna work with him, and how did you find each other?
Yeah, as a newlywed, I truly believe it's like a marriage, and you know what? So Neto, we have very similar social circles. So kind of knew of him already, but we just never met in person. And I just remember, I mean, I was still at McKinsey at the time, and we started having initial conversations, and we focused entirely on kind of what's the impact of this. And the impact was job creation. Like when we interview candidates, we're very clear on the mission. And I think a lot of times people think the mission is you want to help companies enhance their customer experience. It's really job creation. That's the thing that got me super excited about this, because I saw firsthand, people like my mother who struggled to find, work in the States. And, she would go from job to job, someone who's hungry and she wants work, but she couldn't get it. This is a problem that's all over the US. It's a problem that's happening around the world. And when we started talking about this vision of, we are helping people earn money while working for some of the companies they love, some of the companies that they're a customer of. You don't have to drive a car around as an Uber driver. You don't have to be a door dasher. You don't have to put together IKEA furniture as a task rabbit. You can literally be at home as a stay-at-home parent. We work with the US State Department has kind of a community for military spouses. So we're working with military spouses and giving them an opportunity to find jobs. We work with job placement companies who, maybe people that have had difficulties finding jobs in the past. And we're making it easy for them to make some additional money and potentially create a career for themselves with companies they love. Those are the things that make me really excited. Those are the things that keep me going. Because when you start to see the stories of, some of these Chatdesk experts who, are able to provide for their family, or one of the companies sent, a new collection for them to test out, and they're so happy and excited. Those are the things that I love hearing about. Obviously we're helping to solve bad customer service, but I think leading first with kind of what's the vision for impact more on a personal level. I think the second thing is, understanding like when you need to check your ego at the door. Like most founders are very ambitious and hardworking, super type A. But if you're not able to kind of understand like, hey, there's a role I need to play, there's a role you need to play. I need to trust that you have the best interests of the company, and I can't just have it my way, right? I think that's allowed us to grow. Like we've argued, we've had disagreements, but then we quickly say, hey, it's not that deep. We need to act and make a decision. We need to move forward. If it's a bad mistake, we learn from it. If it's a great mistake, amazing. And it's unfortunate, I've had many friends who've started companies and they shut it down, not because of the product, but just because they haven't been able to build that relationship with their founder, especially through those trying times.
Yeah, that is definitely real. In terms of building that trusted relationship. If you're flipping on the other side, can you tell us what's been one of your most exciting or proud moments so far over the last few years?
I think it's just growing the team, right? We have a team approaching almost like 100 people. We have an office in Nigeria with full stack developers. And we have a back office team that's supporting all of these super fans across the States. I built a team in Colombia that also is on kind of the data analysis. So they clean a lot of data. They're supporting also our super fans. So I'm creating jobs in countries of both of my parents, which is pretty exciting for me. The team here in the States, I'm just so excited just to see the level of enthusiasm they have and the ideas they have. I think that's the proud thing is I feel like a parent whose children are starting to grow up and they're finding themselves. We've worked with people that have been with us since the beginning. And we've worked with some people that have been with us for 3-4 years and they left. And we still have this relationship like we're a family. That's the thing I'm most proud of, is that we've built a culture where people, regardless if they're still with us or not, they're rooting for us. And, they're trying to do as much as possible to benefit, all of our clients, but then also benefit, our super fans. I think that's the thing that makes me most proud. And then also the companies, right? the reason why customer support is bad is that a lot of companies can't afford good customer service. If I'm a small business, I don't know if I can afford a full-time person to help respond to all these channels, right? And then customer service is such a high churn business. 60% of support agents churn after a year. So you're spending a lot of time and money trying to find people. I love just hearing the stories of how companies are like, hey, I can have dinner with my family now. I can actually go on, vacation and not open my laptop because I have things coming up related to customers that I need to handle. And I can now afford it. I don't have to pay thousands of dollars a month for customer support and bad customer support. The way that we set it up is you basically pay for the number of tickets and messages you need help with. That's it. So if you only need help with 200 tickets a month, that's all you pay for. And we build a team around you. So I think those are the things that make me happy, is seeing companies continue to grow with their Chatdesk team. And hopefully we can continue it up.
That's exciting. And especially with one question, you talked about the global nature of your team. I know you're in London right now. You have teammates in New York. You talked about Nigeria, Colombia. We've all gone virtual since the COVID, COVID proliferated, and now some people are going back in person. But can you share a little tips on for companies that are trying to continue to make virtual work? I think startups default to virtual scrappy teams. I know that, but yeah. Any tips or advice around that?
We're still trying to figure it out. To be honest, I think in the beginning we did not do a good job. I'm very much like an office type of person. But I think what we've tried to do is we've tried to have what we call family reunions, where it doesn't matter if you're working remotely from San Francisco or Denver or Nashville or working in our offices in New York. We come together in a city and we work together. And it's not, obviously we're having social activities and dinners, but we're literally like working together, and just to see, people breaking away into different groups and having conversations. It's just so much richer. You see kind of like the energy that's coming from just the breakouts and the conversations we're having. So I think that's worked quite well. I think the second thing is trying to find, whether it be brown bag sessions or just simple like Hangouts or Zoom calls that aren't related to just business. So, one thing we will try to do is we'll have like a game day, or we'll have different virtual games where the team will go. One thing we want to do is kind of like a cooking, a cooking show type setup where someone is making something for the team and people are able to just try their hand at, baking something or cooking something. I think all of us have Zoom fatigue. So just trying to find things where you're not solely fixated on a slide or a spreadsheet, I think lightens it up. But we have a lot more that we can do. So yeah, it's still a work in progress, to be honest.
No, I appreciate you sharing that. Well, appreciate your time. I wanted to take time for you to share a little bit about what's next for Chatdesk.
Yeah, I mean, we're growing quite a bit, tripled kind of our growth 2020 to 2021, tripled it again last year.
Congrats, that's big.
Thank you. Yeah, I think one thing we're trying to do is really educate a lot of brands on how they can leverage social channels for more customer engagement. I think it's a huge blind spot that we see a lot of companies miss out on. They focus so much on marketing to those channels, including TikTok, right? But they're not really doing as good of a job interacting and engaging those communities from a support standpoint. So what we're doing actually is we are, really providing up to $2,000 plus worth of Chatdesk credits for companies to use. It's helps them kind of understand how they can better use their social channels to drive more sales. But it encourages more channels that your customers can engage you on and build stronger relationships. So for any company that's interested in kind of learning more, we'd love to chat and kind of share our thoughts on different industries that we're seeing and how we can just make their customer experience better.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Andrew, for those. Thank you, Andrew, for joining us. Everyone who if anyone tuned in late, Andrew Olaleye, who is the co-founder of Chatdesk. If you're interested in connecting with Chatdesk, the link is in the live stream notes. So thanks again for joining us, Andrew. It's been great. And tune in next time we have another amazing founder on RBL1 Live. So thanks again, Andrew.
Thanks.